CS2 is literally being changed by this case. Well, by these two cases really, but this one especially. Like all cases, they're currently being systematically wiped out by degenerate case openers. Not that I'd know anything about that. But unlike a lot of other cases, these ones are, as stupid as it sounds, literally driving some of the culture surrounding the game. How has a situation like this happened? And what does it mean for the future of skins and Counter-Strike itself, I guess? Well, let's get into things. Now, this video is sponsored by my cash trading business. I buy skins for bank transfer. It's not just limited to Australia either. I can do domestic transfers pretty much anywhere with no conversion fees or anything like that. And if you're interested, just send me a message on Twitter. Also, before I start, I just want to say, if you could leave a like and subscribe if you're not subscribed, that'd be very appreciated. Anyway, about these cases, it wasn't that many years ago they were worth pretty much nothing. In fact, if we go back to the start of 2019, a Revolver case was 3 cents, a Chroma 2 case was 3 cents, a Gamma case was 3 cents, a Spectrum case was 3 cents, a Breakout case was 3 cents, and a Glove case was 3 cents. And the reason they were 3 cents wasn't actually because they were worth 3 cents, it's just that was the minimum amount you could list for in the US. Today, those numbers are looking a little bit different though. In fact, today, a Revolver case is $4, a Chroma 2 case is $5, a Gamma case is $6, a Spectrum case is $7, a Breakout case is $13, and a Glove case is $18. All of these cases have gone up a shit ton, but clearly two of them are built differently. Glove cases and Breakout cases have outperformed everything else by a fucking mile, and this is having some fairly big consequences. But to understand this, we have to understand how we got here. How did these cases get so expensive? At the start of 2019, they weren't considered to be anything special. I was actually quite pessimistic about Breakout cases at the time, which was clearly not the right call. Obviously, starting in 2019, Counter-Strike grew by a lot. The Chinese scene entered the market and pumped in lots of money, and this made everything go up in price heaps. But this doesn't explain why these two cases in particular did so well, and basically did better than every other case out there with only a handful of exceptions. And to try and answer this question, I decided to check where the numbers started to diverge. So I went back through and tracked the numbers each year, and it seems like the answer is right away. Even at the start of 2020, the Breakout case and the Glove case were more expensive than most of their competitors. So what could have been causing this? Well, on inspection, it seems the answer is the gold shiny stuff inside of them. First of all, the Breakout case has butterfly knives. In fact, the Breakout case is all butterfly knives. This is the most popular knife in the game, or close to, and its butterflies aren't found in any other cases. There's some extra lore here with the Spectrum case, but regardless, the point is, it's the butterflies. It makes sense. The Glove case is a little bit different. It has gloves, as you might imagine, but specifically it has the original gloves. And while there are some terrible gloves, there are also some fantastic ones. In fact, it's safe to say this thing got the lion's share of bright and shiny gloves in the game. Now, you can also get these gloves from one other case, the Hydra case, but that case is so rare it may as well not exist. By comparison, there are 3 Chroma cases, 2 Spectrum cases, 2 Gamma cases, tons of cases with OG finishes, and the finishes in these cases are used in much larger groups of cases as well. The Glove case finishes, on the other hand, are used in the Glove case, and that is pretty much it. Do you want a hedge maze? Well, this thing is the only option. And that exclusivity is probably what set this case up for its popularity. That and people stopped hating on gloves from 2019 onwards. But there's also something else really strange about these cases being so expensive. You see, because they're so expensive, you would assume they're rare, but that's not really the case. If you compare total listings on Price Empire, all of these cases are pretty much equally common. And if you look at the numbers being opened each month, well, there's not really that much of a pattern here either. They're all roughly in the same ballpark. So it's not that the Breakout case and the Glove case are rarer, it's just that we're willing to pay more for them, and we're willing to do that because the shit inside them is so cool if you manage to get it. And now we're literally at the point where people are paying almost $20 a case to try and get items that are worth tens of thousands of dollars. And this is where I've been trying to get with the whole driving some of the culture surrounding the game stuff, because that's what they're doing. Now, just to be clear, I'm not saying that this is the only thing driving Counter-Strike's culture, or that this is comparable to the major or something like that. Obviously not, that would be ridiculous, but it is still something that's happening, so I want to have a look at it. So recently, you've probably heard about some really big streams Nadeshot did with some other guys opening CS cases. What was he opening mostly? Well, most of the money ended up in breakout cases and glove cases. And why did the unboxing get so much attention? Well, a big part of why it got so much attention was because he unboxed an 18K set of gloves from the glove case. That gets eyeballs. It gets people's attention and draws people to a game that otherwise doesn't have a lot of the flashy features other modern games have. Counter-Strike might not have an anti-cheat, but at least we do have a slot machine. And being the best FPS in the entire world is, great, but from a marketing perspective, being the best FPS that also lets you gamble is even better. And this creates a positive feedback loop. The attention and the legitimacy these kinds of openings give to these stupidly expensive cases helps them to get even more stupidly expensive. And because they've become even more stupidly expensive, big streamers end up being even more interested in opening them for some easy content, and the cycle repeats just like it has been for years now. And having these really expensive cases helps CS2 grow. I mean, just think about how many people watch Trainwrecks or On a Pixel when they open weapon case ones. Heaps of people tune in, and these people end up being interested in Counter-Strike as a result. And what would happen if breakout cases and glove cases got to $50 each or something like that? How many people do you reckon would be tuning in for a big stream where somebody opens some? And even if they never actually get to that point, the fact remains that as these cases and the things inside them get more expensive, the interest in them is not going down. For better or worse, it's part of the culture now. Anyway, all of this does raise some pretty serious questions though about why other big games devs don't get in on this. We've seen games like PUBG dabble with a CS style system and then blow it up for insanely retarded reasons, and most other big games devs seem to keep a mile away from tradable skins and stuff like that. You could say this is because CS skins are unethical, and maybe they are, but it's not like Riot or Blizzard give a shit about ethics. And you could say that the devs are stupid, but I feel like that's a bit of a cop-out. So what's going on then? Well, if you've got an idea, let me know what you think it is in the comments. I'd love to hear some opinions. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this video. If you've enjoyed it, please like, comment, and subscribe, massively appreciated. Otherwise, trust the numbers, not your guts. I'm Heyzeus. Thanks for watching. See ya.